I'm Hilary.
I'm Davita.
That was our theme music, which we never know what it is, but it is the two Pilates Chicks.
Yes.
And we have our swag on today. We actually have merch now on our website. I'm so excited.
We're so excited.
We have a hat, mug, shirts.
Yeah.
We're building. We'll have more. But go check it out. We're sponsoring ourselves today.
Yes, we are.
But it is season 4, episode 15, The Realities of Teacher Training.
Yes.
Your teacher training program. What is the reality of that?
What does it include? What does it take to do it?
What should you expect?
Yeah.
There's so much. So I don't even know where we should begin on this subject. We have our notes, but there's just like so many avenues we can go down. But yeah, I think it's important because I think people have an expectation of teacher training and maybe it's not what they thought.
Yeah.
When they signed on.
Yeah, a lot of people that decide, okay, maybe they've been taking Pilates for a long time, they want to deepen their practice, maybe they do want to become teachers, and they say, okay, well, now what? Like, how do I find a program?
Yeah, like, what are my options? And there's a lot. Like, it used to be not as saturated in terms of that. I mean, there wasn't a lot of options for you. And now it seems like there's so many options, and it's so confusing. Especially for someone just that knows nothing, just wants to be a teacher. Maybe
somebody just knows the studio they take sessions at, take group classes at, and then that's the only studio they know, and they think, okay, well, I'll do the teacher training
here
in that studio.
Yeah. But they didn't research
all of
it. Because I think it's like finding a college.
Yeah. Like, what's the right environment for you? What's the right style? What works for your body and your background? And what you understand about movement.
And also, I think it's important, like, who is teaching you? Like, do you feel comfortable in that with them? Or, do you want someone who's very, like, and some people like that, like, drive me strict. And some will, like, burst into tears and cry at that. So it's like finding, what works, for your teaching and absorbing.
Best environment.
But yeah. Like public school, private school, big college, small college.
And it's different for everybody, and different people flourish in different environments. So you need to find that right studio, the right mentor teacher that makes the most sense for that individual.
Yeah. So the research is so important.
And so we've been seeing, the reason we wanted to do this subject is because we've been seeing so many, like we said, different programs out and about everywhere, and people that have started to do certain programs not really understanding how much commitment it takes.
Especially for the comprehensive.
For the fully comprehensive.
Year-long. Yeah.
Yeah. And then these people just seeing some other studios that have like a weekend training for one piece of apparatus, or a 3-month long, like a 1/4 training that's maybe just mat and reformer.
Right.
And they think, okay, well, I finished that more quickly, I can just start teaching.
Yeah, because it's more about, I like to say sometimes people don't look at the big picture.
Totally.
And they look at the small, and I'm like one of these people. It's like, you need to see the big picture. So I think it's just like, I want to get out and teach, and this is the quickest way out.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at the big picture about what's going to happen when they are out and teaching and the year's gone by, and they don't want to teach at that studio anymore.
Right. So that's something we were talking about, where there are some of these programs that are maybe a shorter time commitment. Maybe they seem less expensive because they're only mat and reformer.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah. And then let's say a person does one of those programs, they finish within 2-3 months and they start teaching. So they're already teaching. But then, okay, they want to go to teach at a different studio, but now they realize, I can't transfer to another studio because the way I was taught is only specific to the style of that studio.
Yeah. So it's another thing, like, to research when you're talking about, the style and this and that. It's like, you have to realize that is it just, a particular brand kind of teach, which And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is like in that bubble. You can't like go out into a fully comprehensive studio.
Right.
And only know mat and reformer and the exercises that were done in that kind of group.
A group setting.
Whatever setting that maybe was a little different.
And some studios won't hire teachers that are not fully comprehensively
or certified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That have their full certification.
Yeah.
Or certificate of completion.
Yeah. And that's another, it's like there's all these like things that people just don't know. And I think you were talking about one of our friends who went through my training and now works with you.
Yeah.
And we'll give a shout out to Effie. Hi, Effie. And she said she was surprised that there are people that teach that don't know about
the NPCP.
Yeah.
And she was saying that, when she was talking about it with a couple of her colleagues at a different studio, and those teachers did not even know about the NPCP or understand that it, not only they didn't know it was a thing, but they also didn't understand what it was for.
Yeah, like they didn't understand what certification through them meant. So they never... So it's kind of frightening to me that there's people teaching that don't know about a certification for our industry.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things, doing research for these programs, that you need to know, does this program actually give me the qualifications to sit for the NPCP test to be able to then actually get fully certified? Mm-hmm. Because most teachers walking around are not fully certified. And now that might be fine for some people. Mm-hmm. They might be okay teaching at group studios and doing their privates and just have their certificate of completion.
Because you can teach, like once you've gone through over 450 hours in a teacher training, you are fully comprehensively trained. And you can go out and teach. But like we were talking about, we're very much of, no, now you need to go sit for the test and be certified. Because it's just like Effie said, when she took her test, it felt like the completion of her journey as a teacher. Mm-hmm. And it put the stamp on it, like, I am officially a teacher now.
I am certified.
Yeah.
So all these teachers, like, yes, you can go teach. You are legally allowed to go teach with your certificate of completion.
There's no law that says you
Yeah. But the thing that we were talking about earlier, the NPCP is the only certifying body for Pilates. So, like, in personal training, there's many different. There's
many different.
There's a dozen different types, like ACE and whatever. They're all nationally accredited certifications.
All of them.
So, in Pilates, we do our 450 hours, all of our observations, our mentoring hours, all of that. And then you finish your whichever program you do with your certificate of completion. Mm-hmm. And then that then allows you to be able to sit for the NPCP exam to then actually be certified. And
they're the only, like you were saying, they're the only NCAA accredited.
Yeah. The NCCA.
ISO turned around with all these.
NCCA accredited. And so for some people, they don't care because they can just go teach and that's fine. But it's important to know that you're not NCCA accredited, the national accreditation body.
And that can come bite you in the butt later. Mm-hmm. Like when you wanted to go get your master's, it was important because you were certified as a teacher, and they accept because you had to prove your certification.
Yeah, for the master's program I went to do, one of the qualifications to be accepted, if you were accepted, you had to have an NCCA accredited certificate in some regard if you were some allied health of sorts, so personal training, Pilates, massage, whatever. You needed an NCCA accredited certification. And so my original teacher training certificate of completion would not have counted. I would not have been eligible for that program.
Right.
So because I had the NPCP certificate, I was I was qualified to do this program. So it is important to know the differentiation there, and if it matters to you and your future and your career path you want to do or not. Mm-hmm. But it is important to know of.
Yeah. And I think it's important for the teacher training programs to have that as part of the conversation.
Right.
And a lot of them are advertising and saying that they certify when we really only have one certifying body.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And just talking about the difference of having your certificate of completion versus being fully certified, mentioning the difference between maybe if you're doing a piecemeal program of certain apparatus versus fully comprehensive.
Because we chatted on the fully comprehensive, people get stuck on, oh my God, it's so expensive. And it was expensive when we did it.
Yeah,
way
even
back
then.
But like you had a good point, if you're just doing these little bits and pieces all the time, it's going to add up.
It adds up to be more expensive, actually, to piecemeal the certification completions.
It's like it just keeps adding up and adding up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you buy something in a bundle.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than if you just buy them
one at a time.
Yeah.
And it's true. And also, like, the comprehensive programs, like, Pilates is a system, right? All the different things add in together. And, like, today at my session with you, like, we were doing things on different pieces, and we were working on the same thing in different pieces of equipment.
It was like the same theme that thread through the work. But it's a system. It builds
that connection. It's important for teachers to know and understand that. Yeah.
I had a student today who is kind of at the halfway, basically kind of halfway. And she said she realized she could feel her thought process changing. And so it took her almost getting into it like halfway to really because it's a lot. And we talked about, it's like college. You're going and you're studying.
It's a lot of studying.
Hours and hours and hours and hours. And you're learning so much. But you have to just do the hours.
Yeah.
Do the work.
It's just a commitment. It just is.
Huge commitment. And we talked about kind of there's no quick fix. And then you have to think about why would you want the quick fix?
Right.
Why? What's the end goal? If you think of the big picture.
Yeah. Because if you want to just get teaching really quickly, like, okay, you can. But then how do you then develop further? How do you understand the different layers? How do you then help somebody in
like your clientele,
ways?
There's no way someone with a quick fix kind of like going and not really learning the entire system could work with clients that have the issues that you have.
Yeah.
Or even I have, but
yeah, it's
like there's just, and that takes years and years.
It takes years. And it's even if you do comprehensive full year program, and then you go do your full certificate, your MPCP, you're now fully accredited, fully certified. It is still then a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
You should always still then be learning. And so if you're not starting yourself off with a strong foundation, it's really hard to add on top of a weak foundation.
Yeah, something's going to fall through.
Yeah.
Something's going to fall through the crack.
Yeah, and you don't want that thing to fall through is like hurting a client or, working with somebody that's beyond your scope and not understanding.
Yeah, and I think one reality which I've seen is, and I was talking about it with a student, the realities of teacher training is a small portion of those hours you're doing are learning with like the director or the teacher.
The head of the program.
The head of the program.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the full hours, it's not the bulk of the hours. The bulk of the hours are really in the student's hands.
Yeah. It's
the
up
observation,
to them.
the practice, assisted teaching. And I think that's where people can get frustrated because they're like, well, you tell me and then just I'll, go. But it's like...
Right.
My mentor told me, he said, you have to figure it out because no one's going to follow you around with your client.
Right. And that's like the switch between being a student or a client in Pilates and then becoming a student teacher in a teacher training program and then becoming a teacher with your own clients. Each of those phases, those are different levels of understanding And when you make that switch to an actual, okay, now you are the teacher, you have to make those decisions.
Yeah. This person's body and health and movement is in your hands.
Yeah.
So it's good, like you said, to have that really strong foundation. And I think when you get to the certification part of it, it really shows to the public that I did the work.
Yeah.
As a teacher. I put in the hours.
Right.
I sat for a test.
And all that studying.
And I think, like, you know, certification, like when I wasn't kind of around, but when it came, and I think, yeah, if you 10, 15 years ago, whatever, if you'd ask people, no clients can even know. Like, certificate? But,
yeah.
But I do feel that clients are getting smarter and clients are doing their research and clients are like, you know, where did you learn? How many hours?
Yeah. Well, because now, like, it used to be like that Pilates on it itself was not very well known.
Right.
Like the word and the practice was a little bit obscure. Mm-hmm. And like when I started practicing as a client, it was super obscure. I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
And then
it's like that yoga?
Yeah. And then
what is that?
it's become more and more popular, and now it's everywhere. And so now, because Pilates is so well known, now people are getting more into the understanding of the different types and branches of
different
Pilates.
Studios. Yeah. And I think as a student, like, you're doing Pilates and you're like, oh, this looks fun, I want to teach. So I think it should be like a client where you start researching all the different avenues that you could go as a teacher.
Yeah.
And not just, you know, picking that first thing.
Yeah.
Like
the quickest thing
or the cheapest thing.
Yeah.
Because it is like picking a college, and it's going to be something that is your foundation that's going to take you.
That's your career.
It's like your career.
And then is it transferable? Does it build a strong foundation? Mm-hmm. Can you teach at any studio then?
Yeah. Can you teach in any, and I tell this to my students, it's like you can teach anywhere.
Yeah.
You can teach in a fitness, you can teach in a private studio, you can do a home studio, you can do this, you can, you know, because they've got that foundation. And then once they, like we get into a situation, it's like, oh, I really am enjoying this avenue, but you've got that already work in your body and brain and knowledge to just build and absorb more.
Yeah. Because you have that foundation, and then you know, it tends to be that we start to specialize in some kind
way
of avenue. And like you said in a previous podcast, you never thought you were going to, let alone be a teacher, let alone a teacher's teacher.
No, I never thought I would be teaching teachers or people to be teachers. Yeah.
And so, you know, and same with me, like I never thought I would be in the like ortho rehab and geriatric world, but there you go.
There you go. But it is, if you hadn't been, and I hadn't been through the teacher training that we went through to understand the work and the whole system.
Yeah.
And the mat and the reformer and and how it all kind of came in, then our journey would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
And probably wouldn't have gone the route it went.
Yeah. We wouldn't have as deep of an understanding of the system as a whole. Mm-hmm. So if you're not learning it all together, you're not going to understand it all together.
Yeah. And I feel like, and that's another thing to think about, is if you have to look at the big picture, if you're learning, like you said, bits and pieces, so you're not learning that whole journey in the system, then when you do decide, that's missing, I need this, it's like you're starting all over again. So again, it's going to be more financially burdening.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you have to kind of let go of everything you've been thinking to rethink a different process.
Break it down to build it back up instead of just building it from a fresh foundation.
Yeah. Like building it from the ground up, and then now you're having to and then rebuild.
I mean, and everyone has their different opinion on, you know, it's a whole nother conversation that we've gone over with like classical and contemporary and what traditional, whatever. But, and I think no matter what, if you're coming from a foundation that is more classically oriented to start, then you have a stronger foundation in the understanding of what Pilates is. And
to take it anywhere.
Then you can go out in the world and learn different things from different studios and pick and choose different, like, well, I don't know, Legree stuff and rehab stuff and whatever. But you at least have that starting platform of this is the classical work and this is all added on. Like, this is traditional and this is an addition.
And you kind of know why and how and the purpose, so that when you do absorb other aspects of movement, like you, I know, and I, and, you know, both my teachers that I love, we kind of throw in, like, you're going to throw in some functional movement. You're going to, which Pilates was all about functional movement. Right. And so you would understand why I'm giving this.
Yeah.
Because you've got the knowledge of the body and the knowledge of the work, and you can know what do I need to bring in that maybe isn't Pilates, but will apply in this moment. Exactly.
And that kind of connects to the previous episode we did on creativity in Pilates.
Yes.
Because we talked a lot about how, yes, you are allowed to bring other things in to a client. That's not strict, only classical Pilates, but it's all about that foundation. So I have that foundation and I know why I'm picking something else to add in to this client's session.
Yeah. And you're not just willy-nilly throwing things at them.
Yeah.
Which you've got. And I also think if you go on that pathway there with knowing and having that knowledge, you're more confident right out of the gate as a teacher.
Totally. Yeah.
In any situation.
Yeah, because if you're already as the new teacher, newly leaving your program, you're the new teacher at this new studio. That's already scary, and you already don't think you know everything, which you don't. But it feels like you don't know anything. Then if you're like at this new studio, and you're like, oh, I didn't even learn half this apparatus.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't even know what to do. You know,
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. So that doesn't work. And probably those people wouldn't be starting teaching at a fully comprehensive studio. They'd probably be starting at maybe a group class with only reformer or only mat, maybe a gym setting. Yeah. And then you just learn more from there. But again, it ends up taking even more time and being more expensive.
Longer. Yeah.
So it looks daunting.
Be frustrating.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating too. And I think you had a good, I don't know, you can say where you heard or you read it. Was the hairdresser?
Yeah. So I heard this somewhere, read it somewhere, and I cannot remember where it was. So if anyone knows, let us know.
We'll give a credit.
But, but I had heard this and thought it was so perfect that, you know, you're not going to let a hairdresser who's only had 3 months of training cut your hair, even though your hair's going to grow out. It's not going to,
won't kill you.
It won't kill you. But you're not going to let a hairdresser cut your hair from 3 months of training. So why would you let a Pilates teacher work on you that just had a few months of training? And, you know, in Pilates, we're working with people's bodies.
And injuries and imbalances and
psychosocial issues.
Into their thought process of movement. And that's a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, we shouldn't be letting the industry be diminished by allowing all of these teacher training programs to be kind of equalized.
Yeah, because I think that's a good way to put it, because we don't want to sit there and bash anybody's teacher training program, because, you know, the thing is, like, a lot of the teacher training programs, like we've been talking about, that is just for that studio, they need teachers.
Yeah.
And so they're training the teachers to teach in their studio.
Right.
Which is great.
Yep. And but sometimes they have multiple branches and they need lots of people.
But the teachers coming into that teacher training need to be aware of what that entails and what that means for them if they do decide to leave that studio.
Right. Yeah, and so it's really just being clear in the advertising of teacher training programs. So the people in charge of those programs should just be clearer and more forthcoming with those teacher training students.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important. I mean, I have people contact me wanting to know the difference between Bossy and me, or knowing how are you different from this training. And it's like, okay, and it's just facts. It's like, this is what my training entails, and from my understanding, if you look at their website, this is what their entails, this is this, and not, it's like, find what works for you, find the best for you. But I am a firm believer in that. I feel like there's so much of, yes. So did I send you? But apparently, and y'all can look this up on Instagram or wherever, but it was in the UK, and this woman is suing the Pilates studio because she was a violinist. Did you see that? And she broke her elbow.
Yep. So the article says she got injured from
doing Pilates. But when you delve into the article, it was a big group class on a mega reformer, and the teacher had I don't know how many people.
Like a dozen or more.
Dozen people. Yeah. And the foot bar slipped and she fell. But they used the word she got hurt doing Pilates. That was the whole thing. So it's like, wait, so someone just reads that.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, well, I can't do Pilates because it's dangerous. Yeah. So I think it's really important, like you said, that there is a differentiation.
Yeah.
In terms of, kind of that aspect of, is it, and I think certification takes that and brings it into a, hey, this is you are not going to, be hurt here. This teacher went through this many hours. They are certified. It's I mean, not that situation.
It's the different types of, which again we talked about in the previous podcast on the types of Pilates, and so
it was a creative one.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
The one right before it.
Yeah.
So there's the different types of Pilates, and there's the Pilates based exercises, and so it'd be great if people had better, clear literature, like clear communication in their websites and how they advertise on that, which I have been seeing more clear of
we've
now,
seen a few of them
where they say
studios,
this is Pilates based, blah, blah, blah. And then so similarly with these certification teacher training programs, those need to also have clearer descriptors where they say, okay, like if you're doing a Legree certificate, you're not Pilates certified. Like you're learning Legree, you're learning Pilates-based exercise.
Yeah, and they have their own exercises.
Whole own machine, own exercises. Yeah. And then the same thing for like specific studios around here, like where we see them, they have their own style, which is great, that people love. And so it's Pilates-based, this person's style. Yeah. And so if you're doing their teacher training program, you're learning their style. Yeah. And again, will that then transfer to other studios, or is it just able to be in their style in their studio?
Because there's branding of Pilates base, but it's like this person, like Joe Schmo's Pilates or this, that, And so it's not Pilates in terms of learning the full system.
Yeah.
Traditionally or classical or whatever. It's kind of learning their version.
Their version of the system. But it's not
in their studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, people just do need to know that no matter what program you pick, it does take commitment and it takes time.
Period.
It takes lots of time and lots of studying.
Hard.
It's tough.
I cried when I was done in my car. I was so exhausted.
I had plenty of cries in my car.
But I just think it's important as a student to act like you're going to college.
Yeah.
Do the research. Call, email,
talk
interview,
to the people. Yeah.
Ask questions and know what to expect.
Yeah.
And then when you're in it, do the work. Because it's hard and you're going to want to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But it's so worth it.
Yeah, it is.
So worth it. So yeah, but if that's well, to end with, we kind of talked about it, and I don't remember what episode, but we talked about, the person that has a full-time job that just wants to do Pilates like as a side hustle or whatever, then that quick training to work in that studio might be great, you know?
Yeah. If they want to
If that's what they wanted, you know, and that's all they want, and you know, but really think about long term. Like, what's the big picture? Do I want to teach in a studio teaching rehab? Do I want to, you know, eventually do this? Well, if that's the case, then you really need to go for the full comprehensive.
Yeah, with the foundations, the comprehensive training.
And get that certification.
Yeah, get the actual NCCA accredited certification.
Which is the NPCP. Look it up.
Yep. It just takes time. And apply yourself. Once you find that right program, then take the time, be fully committed to it, and really dive in. Because then it's just a lifelong process afterwards. We just keep learning, and we always have to keep learning, because being a teacher just means we're a lifelong student.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to think of another field that would apply to. Maybe a scientist.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the same way, like, we need to continually learn in our field, too, because it's evidence changes, science changes.
You and I've had long conversations, yeah.
So you need to have your Pilates practice needs to be evidence-based.
Yeah, definitely, all the time.
You always need to keep learning.
Yeah, keep learning. I think that, yeah. So, but if you have questions on teacher training, send us a DM or an email, or go on our website. Because we're happy to like guide you and help and answer questions. I know there's some things on Facebook they have for people that are in teacher training that kind of help if they're needing to vent and upset or whatever.
Because you need that community.
You need that community, yeah. Hopefully it's in your teacher training program. But sometimes you just need other people that aren't teachers to kind of, or that have been out in the world a while.
Yeah, to vent at.
Oh, that was yummy fun. So, yeah, Realities of Teacher Training. Oh, and go check out our merchandise on our website. You got your hat. Do you have your hat?
I have my hat, which you can see if you're watching.
If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see the hat. And we've got unisex shirts. And we're just working on different colors, different quotes.
More will be coming.
Yeah. But enjoy, and thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.